Hello and welcome to the iRacing Grand Prix Championship live on Apex Racing TV. I'm Sam Fitzpatrick and alongside me is Marco Barbanet with Scott Newton on the cameras. Marco, we are back here from yesterday as well in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series at Circuit of the Americas. We've already spoken a little bit about it yesterday, but this is a tight, twisty circuit in parts. It's got some fast corners and it's got some fast straights as well. It's a classic Tilke circuit. And whilst many drivers don't particularly like it, it's a sure one to test all parts of your driving skill.
It is, yeah. Hello, everyone. And it's a tough track. First part, very twisty, very fast, very twisty. But the second part completely changes the layout because you have long straights and 90-degree corners. So like we say, every time we come here, setup is crucial because you have to set up your car both for the first part and then the second part. It's not always easy to get a good compromise between the two. So this is going to be important to get a good setup, and of course you have to decide, do you prefer the drivability in the first part or the top speed in the second part? It could be a very, very interesting predicament for these drivers today.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, of course, in the real life F1, I'm also visiting here this week. And there is a clip actually on YouTube just comparing the lap times of the two fastest drivers. And yeah, it is really interesting, seemingly the setup differences or the characteristics in the car. Just kind of gaining some time around some parts of the circuit, but then sacrificing time around the other parts of the circuit. So that's a really important balance that these guys have got to manage. So far this season, Marco, it's been Ricardo Roscoe winning both of the opening rounds at Spa and Nürburgring. And I think he's certainly the favourite out there today. But we saw last time out at Spa, Nicholas Rasmussen pushing him really hard right to the end. I think also Matteo Calastani should be right in the mix as well.
Yes, like we said, I mean, it's a long championship, but it is not very, very long because this is the first season and organizers wanted to get the season done before the end of the calendar year. So if drivers want to start, and challenge Orozco for the title, they have to start winning. And, with the 3 rounds out of 8 in the books after this one, it will be tough if Orozco wins today as well for these drivers to challenge him. So we'll see. I think his teammates are the most direct rivals that he has. Augusto and Calestani, like you said. Rasmussen could be also a dark horse. We'll see. An important thing to notice, Sam, is that first corner. Very wide when you go there, very narrow when you are in there. So who knows, maybe some silly stuff can happen on the first corner of the race.
Yeah, we've got 10 drivers up there. We desperately hope that we don't see any casualties. We saw at Spa a lot of drivers making mistakes, a lot of quality drivers making mistakes. Luka Verlic is a quality driver and he's just about to cross the line now for his first time lap. He is currently third, but that is third of the already of the drivers who have set times so far. I was just googling some interesting Texan facts, and boy, Texas is an interesting state. I can say that they've got a coastal live oak near Fulton. It's the oldest tree in the state. The tree has an estimated age of more than 1,500 years. That's really old, ain't it? Yeah, so yeah, that's an old tree. Also, I didn't realize this, but Texas was an independent nation from 1836 to 1845. So I also didn't know that. Those were your facts that you didn't need to know for this race, which have no bearing at all on the race that you're about to see. Of course, three laps that these drivers can set, and currently it is Nicholas Rasmussen just leading the way. Luka Verlic, he's just come out of the pits, but he is going to be able to go back out there once again. And of course, yesterday, Marco, we saw not too much overtaking. Our drivers really struggled to make overtakes, particularly, I think it was Kevin S. Jr. Got stuck behind one of the Coanda drivers, I think, for pretty much the entire race. In the end, a very good undercut was the key. But it's a bit odd, this one, because it was certainly designed to, promote overtaking. There's plenty of corners where you think, yeah, that's a great opportunity. We've got, some 3 hairpins with a long straight prior to it. So why is overtaking so difficult, you think, Grante? Or is it just these cars which make it that much more difficult?
I think a bit it's the cars, and the other problem is that the straights come after the first section, and in the first section where you need a lot of aerodynamic grip in order to stay behind another driver, you know, left, right, especially in the S's there, you need to have a good car, and most of the times you use the aerodynamic grip to get through there. Also a bit of the mechanical grip. So when you're following another car, we saw yesterday, for example, Kevin was able to get really close in the second part of the track. Then new lap begins, and in the S's he had to, you know, lift a bit and lose some of the time, and then by the time he gained back that time he lost in the second part of the track, it was already time to go back to the S's. So we'll see. I mean, we know in the World Championship the setups are extreme, and those drivers are the best in the world. These drivers here are great as well, but there's I think a little bit less exasperation on the setup front. So we might see some more overtaking today.
Yeah, certainly hope so. Will be a 37 lap race up there. That's 2/3 distance. So it should be a one-stopper, but at the same time, Marco, we have got a 38-degree track temperature. That could rise as well as these drivers, drive around. The track may increase temperature a little bit. And also, only 17 incidents for these guys today. Yesterday, they were very liberal with the incidents. It was a limit of 40. But these guys have got to put up with 17, and that's not going to be easy. Because, well, we don't need to say, Circuit of the Americas is one of the most difficult circuits to keep those instant counts down.
Yes, yesterday, of course, in the World Championship, full distance race, but they also had quite a bit more incident points available. They had 40. And remember, in Spa-Francorchamps, Orozco finished the race on 17 incident points, so one less than the disqualification margin, so he cut that very, very close, even though that was a 100% race. But like we said, this track, second worst track for off-track penalties after Spa-Francorchamps, so it's going to be tough for these guys. The easy thing is going to be the strategy, because I think, Sam, we are almost guaranteed all drivers going for a one-stopper.
Yeah, we saw one-stoppers being pulled off by, it was Jamie Fluke, was it? I want to say, yesterday, who managed to pull off a one-stopper. And it maybe wasn't the ideal strategy. I think in hindsight, maybe a couple of seconds slower. But we saw it work out for other drivers, so it should be pretty simple for these guys. But you still got to be careful. Those traction zones out there, Marco, it's with all those hairpins and that final section, it pretty much seems as though you're accelerating for the entire lap round here. It's, those rear tyres do take quite a pounding.
They do, absolutely. Luckily, we don't have the bumps, the sausage curbs they put in this season in real life. Yesterday we saw, well, the official Twitter account of the track called the Verstappen curb or something like that, and yesterday, of course, poor Max Verstappen left right rear suspension on those. And here, of course, it would be not a matter of, destroying the suspension, but also, losing the car, because it's quite easy to, jump on those things and lose traction. As Orozco finishes another lap, he's already on pole position. Can he do better? I think he can, yes, by almost 100 of a second. So, I am very critical of this track most of the times that we've been here. The problem is that the first part is so good, and I get a little bit angry because then the second part gets a little bit boring, even though I like the fact that we have to set up the car for the two different parts of the circuit. And also, like I said yesterday in the World Championship stream, why there is all this tarmac between the racing surface and the grass? It's completely nonsensical. Also, then it looks good on television, I think, but apart from that, it really takes away from the racing.
Yeah, it is. It is certainly a frustrating circuit. We can certainly say that, because there are some absolutely fantastic elements to it. But at the same time, it does lack a little bit through some of the sections of corners. We are just about to complete qualifying for these drivers now, and we should be able to go through your grid, I think, now. Ricardo Roscoe, once again on pole position out there. He was 6 tenths clear of Matteo Calastani. in qualifying. He starts alongside him on the front row. Nicholas Rasmussen about 1.2 seconds off the pace, but he will have Ronaldo Augusto for company out there third and fourth. Luke Furlich very close to those guys in fifth. Hopefully he'll be able to challenge for a podium today. Then it's Bruno Canavas, David Cudmore, Jonathan Sant, Emeterio Revolta in 8th, and then Manuel Hoyer 9th, Flavio Clavatti in 10th, and Alex Jonsson in 11th place. I think Jonsson can take the start. No, I don't think he can, actually. I don't think he will be taking the start, but we will have 10 drivers out there, hopefully. There is a 107% rule, I think, in this series, so I've got to be a little bit careful up there.
I think Ronaldo Augusto got disconnected, and he's not the only one. Let's see, because some of the drivers still have to grid. There's 1 minute left.
Well, I saw Orozco actually getting kicked earlier on. His connection falling to an unacceptable level, so I don't know if there's some kind of issue out there with the server.
Okay, drivers are slowly starting to go back on the grid. They have 30 seconds left. Of course, this is the worst moment to have a connection issue. With missing Emeterio, Augusto, Cudmore, and Jonsson on the grid. 20 seconds left. Very, very tense moments.
Well, Emeterio has now got onto the grid, and so too has Cudmore. I think it might just be Augusto that we're missing. Unfortunately, he still hasn't connected, so he might be one driver down. You can see that absent spot. But I don't think it's going to stop the front runners, Ricardo Roscoe and Matteo Calistani, from taking this start. It's Circuit of the Americas, round 3 of the iRacing Grand Prix Championship. And we are away. Are there going to be issues going into turn 1? It's not a fantastic start there for Calistani. He's going to be under pressure from Rasmussen into turn 1. We've almost got 3 wide into turn 1, and Rasmussen does very well just to take that position, and he is going to be able to pull ahead. A little bit squabbly just behind. David Cudmore's already got up 3 positions, and he's just lost out to Luca Furlich. So Furlich up 1 place into 4th, Cudmore 5th, and Emeterio in 6th place. And Canavas, as he got a bit of an issue near the back, just falling down a couple of positions for him, and he's down into 9th after starting in 6th. But we're fearing there was going to be a collision in that turn 1, Marco, but it seems to be okay for now.
No, I think there was a collision in turn 2, I think, because Canavas is in the pits. I saw a car with his 2 front wheels in the air, so something must have happened in the back. Apart from that, a great start by Rasmussen. He was able to jump Calistani, and Orozco, of course, already looking to get away from his opponents. You want to get out of the DRS zone as quick as you can, because, like you said, long straights that really play and were really designed with the DRS in mind, of course, this being one of the newer tracks on the grid.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's the 2 DRS zones around here. And Orozco's done very well so far to already open that gap up to 1 second. So Calistani is staying pretty close to Rasmussen. Expect that battle to be a race long one. But you can see them all staying very tight within the lines on this opening lap at least. As we round the final corner. 36 more laps to go. 36 more laps for Ricardo Orozco to make it 3 out of 3 potentially in this series. And you can already see the top 4 very spread out there already.
I think Calistani is a bit, wants to get revenge on Rasmussen, because he surely wanted to challenge his teammate for the race win. But so far, 1 second gap between first and second, 1 second between second and third, and 1 second between third and fourth. So like you said, evenly spread out. And I'm already seeing drivers flashing red a couple of times in the first lap, and now already some of them in the second lap as well. So the incident count will be an important factor, I think, going to the end of the race, because here you can get an off track even when you're not pushing that hard.
Yeah, it's an odd one, because sometimes you can put 2 wheels off the circuit, get an off track. Sometimes you can actually cut a corner. The final S or something, you can actually put all 4 wheels over the track. No problems with that. I won't get into all that issues, but maybe we need some of those new F1 curves just to stop these drivers, would regulate it a little bit better. Very close between Hoyer and Cudmore, and actually Hoyer's got ahead of Cudmore now. So, and that's why. I don't know if there was context involved in that one, but Manuel Hoyer up into 5th position now. And, well, Kudmor's going to go down into 8th after a superb start, gaining some 2 positions off the line. And here was the instant. You cannot so often go side by side through this part of the circuit. In terms of driving, it's not great. And, well, we saw that yesterday. I can't remember who it was spinning yesterday, Marco, but even the top guys can struggle with the traction around that part of the circuit. And, well, Kudmor struggled there as well.
Yeah, that part. Yeah, it was Josh Rogers. Thank you, Scott Newton, for the note from behind the cameras. And that part there, Sam, is almost like a street circuit. I mean, it's very, very wide, but it's start, stop, 90-degree corner, start, stop, 90-degree corner. So you need to get good traction, and sometimes you are too eager on the throttle, and that is the end result, sadly. So Matteo Calestani, yeah.
Yeah, so I was just going to say, he's going to have a long run back now. Maybe we'll try to challenge Clabatti and Emeterio later on. But certainly Hoyer's looking very strong in 5th place, so that's going to be difficult for him to catch up. But yet, you're right about Calestani. He's doing a pretty good job putting some pressure on Rasmussen. But that DRS down that straight yesterday, it just didn't seem to be making a difference. It must be incredibly painful for these drivers. And through this part of the circuit, yeah, maybe that's making a bit of an effect, and then across the first part of the circuit, really difficult to stay within about 0.6 of a second. I don't think I saw anyone being able to stay within 0.6 of a second through that opening part of the lap. That's how much that really affects you.
Just a note from the pits, we have noticed that Augusto is back on the track, albeit sadly 2 laps down, so very, very bad luck for Reynaldo Augusto there, and he will have I think he will have to opt for some retirements in front of him. Here he is on the camera right now, the number 2 machine. As Roscoe, 39.9, fastest lap of the race, with Rasmussen able to gain 0.2 of a second over Calestani in this lap. So Rasmussen is holding his own. Like I said, he used to be a league organizer. He organized a very, very good Skip Barber European Championship, and then that league became a team, and now he's at the forefront of this team, NHR, and he's proving to be a very, very reliable competitor. He had a good run at Spa-Francorchamps, and he's looking good for a podium here. So. Looking good for him. He's able to, it's not easy to pull away from Calestani. Calestani is a fantastic driver. He's been around for ages, Calestani. I mean, I remember him racing back when I started, and he was already a top guy in the early 2000s. So, he's got experience. He's very, very fast. He's been competitive in a lot of simulators, Grand Prix Legends, you name it. So, good for Niklas to be able to pull away from Matteo.
Yeah, and these two are two of the definite favourites to qualify for the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series next season. Orozco already part of it, and I think Marco, he's already qualified for next season, has Orozco. I think he's had a pretty decent season. He's got a couple of top 10s, I think, which is very impressive in that quality of field. But certainly Rasmussen missed out quite narrowly. I think he got top 15 last year, and of course top 20 get through this year. It's a few more spots available, and so yeah, that will be a good opportunity, hopefully, for Niklas to finally claim that spot. And this is a fantastic breeding ground for these guys. You can see the gap between kind of the top 4 and then everyone else, I must say. And right now it's looking very closely. Kudmor falling back to Emeterio, and sorry, Kudmor's got ahead of both of them. So Kudmor's had a fantastic lap there. Did well to go from, I think, 8th to 6th in a single lap there, Marco.
Yeah, you see the red car in front of San Emeterio Revuelta in P7, the Spanish driver. You see him right now. Nice livery in the IDAC racing team, you see. White and I think gold, yellow, orange, I don't know. But looks good. But he also, I see, sadly for Jonathan, front wing damage, so we'll have to lose a little bit more time in the pits. And maybe we'll talk later about, I don't know if you, yesterday when we were speculating about the new next season, Road to Pro Series and World Championship. In the meantime, in the, official broadcast of the race. iRacing staff members were having fun in the chat, and we have some tasty rumors from official sources for next season. But we'll talk about that later, about potentially a new car. So we'll see. I mean, I think this will be maybe the last array for the SMP 430. We'll talk about that later, as Rasmussen on the start finish line, 40.6, 41.0 for Calestani, 39.9 for Roscoe. So it is being confirmed that Rasmussen has very, very good pace, and you can see, you just got a brief glimpse there of the new graphic that we have here on Apex Racing TV with the lap comparison. Here it is. Yeah, of course. it will be, you know, it's a little bit of a work in progress. It will be better and better as the weeks go by, but of course always driving forward with the overlay. So Niklas, right now 4 seconds back, Roscoe is running away in the horizon, but also Rasmussen is gaining every lap on Calestani, so I think that Niklas is looking very, very good for second place right now.
Yeah, I think Niklas must be a driver who maybe struggles, I wouldn't say struggles in qualifying, but is stronger in the race, because I think at Spa, he didn't put a foot wrong. And I think even Roscoe maybe made a couple of kind of half mistakes. Maybe, yeah, maybe just running wide a couple of times, as we saw from, you know, his 16 incidents. Whereas Niklas is absolutely, you know, just doesn't make mistakes seemingly. An absolute brick walls, yeah, from his driving, it seems. And currently he's driving very well and just edging up that gap every lap. And even to Roscoe, it's only 4.5 seconds after 6 laps of racing. So that's really not bad pace whatsoever for Rasmussen. And he's looking very strong for that second place. Currently getting interesting between Furlich and Hoyer. Here they are. Hoyer started down in 9th position, or 8th position with the issue for Augusto. But he's been making his way through the field very nicely. Well, I must say, Mark, he's almost looking as though maybe he could fight for a podium later on. He's looking very strong right now as Manuel.
Yes, very, very strong. I want to take a closer look because I think he has some front wing damage. So once again, it will cost him a few seconds in the pits, but maybe it's just, you know, I didn't get a good look at that. From a distance, it seems like it's a little bit bent, and this will not help him, of course, because that was definitely an off track. So once again, have to be very, very careful, as I think we've got some battling between Emeterio and Cadmore, and I think a problem for Cadmore because he suddenly dropped 1 position and many seconds behind the Spanish driver, so changed for position in 6th. As Hoyer, maybe, I think he's in the DRS zone, so able to close the gap a bit, showing some fantastic pace, of course, sharing the team with Roscoe, Calestani, and all the other very fast, positive guys. So I think he has a very good setup and some good teammates. And you see, mistake there by Fairley. So Hoyer putting some pressure on Niklas' teammate. And I think a move will be very, very close. You see the different lines throughout the final part of the track. Very tough left-hander here. Oh, it's a bit of a moment there for Manuel, but he's still able to keep the gap. Very close, and I think he's due for an overtake attempt.
I think so. 4/10 of a second, going down to 3/10, but it's front straight not quite long enough for him. So it's slightly wider line, but it's pretty much as long as you're the car ahead coming out of that turn one, there's not a whole lot the driver behind can do, because, oh, look at this next section. It's exactly one wide all the way through. There's absolutely no chance of going for a move. Even a surprise move in another car certainly isn't possible in these cars. And maybe you can just see Hoyer a little bit offline, trying to carry as much speed as possible at the front end of the car. Just not quite gripping enough for him. 4.5 seconds between the two of them. David Goodmore has come into the pits. Unfortunately, it seems like we've got a bit of an issue for David up there. Already went off the circuit earlier on and then had another issue that we didn't see. Half a second between Hoyer and Furlich though. Just not quite the exit that Hoyer needed from that hairpin. Of course, heading into another hairpin now. And, well, yeah, we saw a very good dive bomb attempt by Antoine Higlin yesterday. I think that could be Hoyer's best chance right now because, so yeah, that might be Hoyer's best chance right now because Furlich isn't making too many mistakes.
Yeah, I think Ferlich also needs to look after his tires because defending this hard, of course, will prove costly for his rubber. Not a long race, I mean 37 laps, but you know this is a very long track, so these 37 laps are they're not very short. As Hoyer gets a better exit here, I think he will use the DRS. He's going to be tough in the first corner. Let's see, goes for a move on the inside.
Oh, he's trying to defend a little bit, but I think he realizes the inevitable does Furlich. Hoyer goes down the inside, but he's wide now, and if Furlich can just get the power down, he might be able to take that position, and he does very impressively. I thought he had that one sealed up, I must say, Hoyer, and, well, he just ran a little bit wide, seemed to have the ideal line, but maybe just broke on a little bit unnecessarily late there, Marco.
Great stuff. Yes, I was surprised because I think he had the time to get a good braking zone there and then have the ideal line. Apparently that wasn't the case because he ran a little bit too deep, and good for Lucas. He didn't give up, and yeah, I mean, he's back in P4, and he's of course helping Calestani because if Hoyer has the pace to go catch his teammate, well, he needs to get rid of Lucas, otherwise it's going to be tough to climb back and get that podium position. I think Manuel will try again next time around. But that was some great defending after a very bad final corner from Lucas. And you see Lucas is a little bit all over the place, especially in this final part of the track, locking his brakes, having some really weird lines. So I think his setup is not well suited for the second part of the track.
Yeah, just having to defend into each of these corners, and once you go offline in one corner, you're kind of offline for all of them. And well, these guys are losing themselves a lot of time off. Wait to see what the lap time is, but usually they've been doing kind of high 41s, mid 41s, and on this lap for Furlich, it's a 42.59, Hoyer 42.8. Will he have a go though into turn 1? Takes a little bit of an early turn in there, doesn't he, Furlich? And that's difficult for a driver trying to make the move because you can go for a dive, but of course if the other driver naturally comes across quite early in the braking zone, then well, that's when accidents can happen.
Yes, and you have to be very respectful of your opponent when you go through that first part of the track, and you have to realize that if your car in front of you has the line, the racing line, you have to be very nice to him, otherwise it ends up in tears. And these two guys have been battling hard but very fair so far. So let's see now. I think Hoyer will get the DRS. Yes, DRS is open. I think it's a little bit, you know, too far into the straight, the DRS zone, to be really effective, you know. As a mistake there by Ferlich. Oh, that was not necessary from Ferlich. A big mistake. Now a lockup. Running side by side, and a good move from Hoyer. So finally, Ferlich mistakes, you know, presented the bill to him because, you know, one lockup too many, one mistake too many, and this time for Hoyer it was a good time to make the move, and he was able to bring home P4.
Yeah, just had to wait for his opportunity. It was kind of wrong for me to say it doesn't look like he's making any mistakes because it's been a very scrappy couple of laps, unfortunately, for Luca Furlich, because when he was driving very cleanly, seemingly was okay, but maybe just those tires going off affecting him a little bit too much. And Hoyer, oh, he's nearly round himself now. Will he be able to hang on to the position? He should be okay, but well, maybe that's the high track temperature there, Marco, but both of these guys seem to be driving on ice right now.
Yeah, and you notice that Hoyer is having problem in the first part, and Ferlich is having trouble in the second part of the track. So this goes to, you know, what we were talking about in the beginning. So these cars are clearly set up in a very different way, and that was a very interesting moment. Both times Hoyer locked in the first corner, even when he seemed to have the better line. I mean, it was not under pressure in this, especially in the second occasion, because you know. Ferlich wasn't close enough to try and go for a move, and of course Ferlich struggling in the second part of the track. So right now I think this battle should be sorted, and we'll see if Oyer will be able to go and catch his teammate in Matteo Calestani in front of him. Lap 11 out of 37, so time still to try and make a move, and of course the strategy one stopper, but the difference is going to be when these guys stop. Now, I don't know if you noticed, but many people have complained, especially during the week. I've noticed that people that are running this track, in private sessions, etc., have been struggling because we've seen a couple of videos of tire failures on this track with this car. So by that I mean not random tire failures, but the rubber goes to 0% and it explodes on you. So we'll have to see, because I'm not expecting to see this because these guys will stop, but if you maybe crazy going for a no-stopper could pose a problem. And this also goes to show, Sam, even if it doesn't come to those extremes, that tire wear is a real issue around this track.
Yeah, definitely. And also, what were they, the front tires or the
front left?
The front left, okay. Because well, I guess that's just through the S's, isn't it? Because the majority of these cons, as you can see, this whole section is just slow speed, and these won't hurt the tires too much. But of course, then you got the Turkey Turn 8, I guess, which will take a bit out of the tires as well. But yeah, so is the drop-off not big enough when you go down to 0% for it to be worth changing tires then? And it's almost worth risking blowing up your tire because the pace drop-off is so small. Because yesterday, the one-stopper guys, well, they seem to only be losing about 2 seconds per lap over the course of about 30 laps, which is surprising around this circuit.
That might also have to do, with the setups. I don't know if it was with the fixed setup, maybe that they were using taken from the official series. And these guys work on their setup pretty hard, so I hope and I think that they have already in their mind as they do a setup thinking about also when we stop, when we change the tires. And also 40 degrees track temperature, I think, if I'm not mistaken, so high but not that high. So it shouldn't be an issue. I think if they stop on the regular lap, they will be able to have a decent pace throughout the course of the race. I think also one problem for these guys is that first corner, because most of the times you go there and you really lock up hard. I've read that in the past, in the very beginning of iRacing, and sadly we don't have Sam Kumo with us to confirm this, because I think he's been one of basically the original iRacers, that when they couldn't change tires in the very beginning of the service, you had this kind of problems when you had longer races, and when the tires go to 0%, you basically, the car will drop on that wheel like you have a suspension failure basically, and you see that part of the car rubbing on the track with sparks going all over the place.
Ooh, and I see that.
Yeah. When that happens, of course, because there's not the animation of the tire exploding, sadly, is not there, but the staff has confirmed that yes, that is when you blow a tire because it has been completely worn. As you can see, the gap between Oyer and Ferlich now growing. It was, of course, negative in the beginning because they were swapping places. They were swapped. One was in front of the other, and now the overtake from Oyer, and now he's pulling away 1.6 seconds in front of his opponent. If this was 2005 when they couldn't change the tires, that could have been interesting.
Yes.
That season when they couldn't change tire was very interesting. I really like the rule they had that if you had a tire failure, you could change one tire only in the pit stop, of course, the tire that you had problem with. If you had like a double puncture, very strange and very rare, but a possibility, you could only change one tire, so you had to go to the pits, change one tire, go out, and go back into the pits and change the other tire. So.
That was just for one season as well,
yes,
wasn't it?
Only for one season.
It just didn't work, or because it worked decent, didn't it? Wasn't that bad.
I mean, they still had stops for fuel, so the strategy was still there.
But yeah, they just got rid of it the year after, of course. And that I guess 2005 was the penultimate year of Michelin, I assume. Of course,
Yes, yes. Because,
Bridgestone messed up those tires, didn't they?
I mean,
Because the Ferrari had one of the fastest cars, but the tires were just horrendous basically because they couldn't do a whole race like they were required to do. And of course, it did win them a race at Indianapolis, obviously, but yeah, that was a small consolation to the fact that the car was slow for the rest of the season.
you know, by the way, let's say hello to Carl Jansson in the comments, and he's explaining what we were talking about in as Calesani is in the pits right now. So he's saying basically the tire becomes a ghost when you have the tire failure, so you run on the rim. That he explained in 2 words what I basically took 10 minutes to say. So thank you, Carl. Talking about, in I remember in 20 as also Ferrich is in the pits 2000 and because basically Michelin they had they had to decide. They said, okay, from 2008 we have one tire supplier, and Bridgestone won. So Michelin left the sport altogether after 2006. So 2007 there was only Bridgestone, but they still had the contract with Ferrari, and that was still technically a tire war season. So Ferrari had a direct relationship with Bridgestone, while for example McLaren didn't. So that was a very odd season. Clivati in the pits as well. Okay, so Carl is saying he also had a problem like that in the GT3 on iRacing. So it's a problem. It's a very well. I mean, on a GT3 you have to, I think, really run for a lot, because those tires can go quite a long way before
Yeah, that would
exploding.
be quite 3 hours, I imagine, on a high dig circuit. Unless you just did donuts for a bit. I guess that would speed it up a tad.
Roscoe, Rasmussen 10 seconds behind him. Oyer now up to P3, and of course Calestani is in the 4th place right now. He's going to go back to 3rd position because Oyer is in the pits right now. Here he comes, Calestani, I think around the last couple of corners.
Wonder if Hoyer has any front wing damage, because of course he did say earlier on, Marco, how he thought he might have a little bit. I didn't see anything, but if he does need to take a new front wing, that would be enough time for him to lose the position. But well, as you can see, he's back going again, nice and quick pit stop, and he should still be quite a bit ahead of Luca Furlish. I'm sure was pushing very hard on that lap, but you can see it wasn't hard enough. He would have had to probably set a lap record. I think he's a little bit closer. He's going to keep the pressure on, I think, Marco, till the end of the race. But pretty much the closest battle out there. 1.6 seconds between the two of them. I don't think there's going to be too much that Furlish can really inflict upon Hoyer till these closing stages, unless Manuel makes a bit of a mistake.
Yeah, 4.8 seconds to stop from Hoyer, so all good on the front wing side of things. We've seen mistakes from both of these drivers, so what Luca has to do, I think, is to keep the pressure on and try to force his opponent into a mistake. I mean, and until you are, as long as you are in the rear view mirrors as Rasmussen pits of your opponent, you can always sort of apply some kind of pressure. And we've seen, especially in that first corner, is where Hoyer has got some trouble. So if he can go and maybe make it feel like he's trying to go for a move or trying to go for an extreme braking there, Lucas, he might force Manuel into making a mistake.
Well, I was also, just watching. Sorry.
Scott was also saying in the background of the 2005 tire failure for Kimi Raikkonen at the Nürburgring when he was leading the race, and he had basically tire wrap, and the tire exploded. And the tire was so badly worn, the front right, that it caused extreme vibrations, and he had a right front suspension failure in the first corner. It was a very scary crash. And I remember that season the McLaren was I think, the fastest car, but it had no reliability. And in the end, Alonso deservedly won the title. And that retirement there for Kimi was basically the picture of the season, because a lot of the time him or Montoya were in the lead in that season, and they had to stop the car and giving the Renaults easy wins.
Yeah, just to make you feel a bit old there, Marco. I was 4.
Oh God.
At the time.
Yeah, I was 16, so
16. Okay. But yeah, I only got into F1 in 2008. But yeah, certainly know plenty about that season. Yeah, a bit annoying. It was a bit like 2012 in a way, because that season could have very much been the fans. But yeah, 2005, peak Kimi, of course, back then. Many people regarded Kimi, of course, better to Alonso. Just, of course, going completely off topic, as Revolta just goes a little bit wide. But yeah, I saw a stat that Raikkonen's got more podiums than Alonso, which, yeah, messed with my head a little bit. But when you think about it, it does make a bit of sense. And he's got like the 3rd most podiums of any driver ever, I think. Raikkonen, it's quite an impressive feat. But anyway, out in the lead, Roscoe is now 11 seconds clear of Nicholas Rasmussen, so it's actually all the way a little bit during those pit stops. So Rasmussen pitted 1 lap earlier, so I would have thought he'd make up a bit of time, but no, 11 seconds can't lead the gap between the two of them. And actually, Kalastani's got closer, so Rasmussen must have had a poor out lap or in lap, although Kalastani did pit a couple of laps earlier. And well, he's now 3.8 seconds behind, so we'll compare lap times. Yeah, when they next cross the line. Emeterio now back into the pits as well. He's the last driver to pit out there. Also, Augusto and Canavas have also pitted.
See the graphics on the bottom right of your screen showing the gap between Kalestani and Rasmussen. Of course, a little bit skewed because of the bigger gaps due to the pit stop. So maybe in a 5-6 laps time we see the graphics again, because now it's but you can still see the fact that before and after the pit stops the gap has significantly decreased. It remains to be seen if Kalestani is able to keep you know, the pace, the good pace, and close the gap with Rasmussen. Speaking of you know, other drivers trying to go to the pits, Emeterio has gone in and out, and I think he had quite clearly some front wing damage, so he lost those extra few precious seconds. 40.0 for Rasmussen is his best lap of the race, so does Kalestani, but it's a 40.1. Very, very small difference between the laps, but Kalestani just a bit slower than his opponent. I have to say, and once again, no surprise, but still I'm surprised by Rasmussen's pace today, because I was sure that it's going to be a 1-2 for the positive guys, and although I know Rasmussen is a quick driver, I wasn't expecting him to be faster than Kalestani today, and he's really showing that he belongs up here. Like we said, surely he's going to be one of the contenders for the pro license later down the road when the Pro Series begins. And speaking of that, if I may find what I was talking about earlier, but yesterday there's been...
See, I haven't even seen these, so I'm quite interested as well.
Okay, I will go and take a look, because it was a very, very interesting dialogue yesterday, as I'm seeing. I mean, I hope that these guys are keeping their off tracks in check, because I see lights flash in red multiple times per lap, and we know, as a Roscoe 39.4, fastest lap of the race. So, okay, here we go. Now, everything I'm about to say is pure speculation, so don't take this for granted, don't take this as the truth. But this is
We're
what
just
happened.
some ground stuff right now, aren't we? That's about it.
And like if you like I always say, get your tinfoil hat on. But so there was some talking between Jan Bregina, Josh Thompson, of course, Apex regular, Tyler Hudson, iRacing staff member. So Tyler Hudson said, responding to a question about the Pro Series, nothing to announce, but it's coming along. Don't worry if it gets late into the year. Nothing says Pro has to ride in Season 1, so likely start later. It's going to be a pretty big deal. Wish I could say more.
Okay.
Then Jan Bresina said, just answer no if there is no MP430 for the Pro Series, and Tyler D. Hudson said no.
So there's not going to be any MP4-30
in the Pro Series, no. Now, we don't have access to the Pro Forum, but people that do, sadly, told me that your very nice suggestion of having the IndyCar for next season is not going to be a possibility, sadly.
Well, what else are they going? It's Skip Barber, obviously. They went for that suggestion.
Now, our very own Peter Berryman, and this has not been confirmed by anyone in the chat, yesterday, in this discussion I was talking about, said, in talks with Dallara, new F2 coming.
Ooh, so they use that instead. Okay.
Now, at the very least, they are going to use it for the Pro Series. If that's the case, I once again, wild speculation, and maybe our own Peter was maybe joking a bit, but I'm quite confident he was not, because of things that I've heard in the past few weeks from hopefully reliable sources. It would be, I watched just a bit of the car sometimes. I have to be honest, I watched it. I don't watch GP2 or F2 regularly, but I watched it because one of our viewers and also one of our drivers, I don't remember who, said that I sound like the Italian.
Davide Valsecchi.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes.
Of course.
So I scream a lot less than him. That's all that I'm going to say.
I love Davide.
So my idea is that having a world the racing I saw with the car in my limited time watching the F2 series has been very nice, and also will provide a nice if it's the next car to come, it's going to provide a nice step between the smaller Formula cars that we have, and we have some very good like Skip Barber, of course, and then the Formula Renault, and then the jump to the F1 is a bit, it's a big step. So that will provide, but I mean, as much as I don't care about this because it's okay for me, I don't think that for iRacing is good to have a world championship with an F2 car. So what people are suggesting, and it could be the possibility in the coming time, is that one of the newer McLaren race cars could come as a new Formula 1 car. So with the new rule package, with the wider front, the bigger aero, the current one of the new generation of cars, so car from the last couple of seasons, which, I mean, wouldn't be ideal in terms of racing, but it would be logical. I mean, if you want to keep this championship at a high level and be a real world championship, and also having a car that poses as a bridge between the smaller formulas and the F1 car, it could be a good move. So we'll see. I mean, we know that iRacing and McLaren are really close together. Shadow Project, the world fastest gamer, this is a McLaren. So interesting times coming, Sam.
Definitely. And of course, if they're in talks with Dallara, and iRacing do have good talks with Dallara, he supplies Haas's race car, and it's Dallara. They do manufacture it, so I don't know if there'll be some way in there. Of course, Haas is an American team as well, so maybe that could be a possibility. The World Championship Grand Prix Series with an F2 car. I don't know. That'd be a difficult one. It'd annoy lots of people. It would satisfy a lots of people, I guess. It would be fantastic, seeing the racing amongst those drivers, because personally I love the F2 car. It's its own thing. It's not like a Renault 3.5 car, which is basically like a slower F1 car. An F2 car is V6. It's got a turbo engine in it, and it's heavy and it's awkward to drive around. and it is a proper challenge. You know, the acceleration is quite poor. I think it's got quite a lot of, you know, even turbo lag, I think, in it as well. So it's a bit of a beast of a car, and that would be some challenge for the drivers to manage. Certainly is a necessary car to be brought into iRacing full stop, but yeah, whether or not that was the proper World Championship car, I'm not quite sure. I guess you could make the argument that it's more up to date than this car. You could, yeah, you could make the argument for, and it's not exactly a whole lot slower either. Probably around a circuit like this, probably only about, well, I guess it'd probably be 5 or 6 seconds lap slower, so not an absolute massive drop off. So yeah, well, it's difficult to say, isn't it? As just comes into this.
Yeah, it also makes some fantastic flames, I think, from the.
Yes.
I mean, I've seen some. I remember again the limited footage I saw. It makes some nice flame coming from the back of the car. Yeah, the Lara did a fantastic job. Of course, they always do a fantastic job with the cars. The IndyCar, of course, the F2, and there is the new, well, not new. Relatively new, the new F4 coming soon, but we don't need that in iRacing, of course, as Augusto, see now on camera, 3 laps down now, and he hasn't been able to make up any ground over the guys that now are 1 lap down, so San Emeterio, Cadmore and Clivati. I think, of course, next season we'll also have the unification between F3 and GP3, but I think they are going to keep the new GP3 car that I think it has been introduced this season. But I mean, once again, those cars, while fantastic, are not needed in racing because we already have the Formula Renault and the Pro Mazda car. It's going to be also interesting to see how it is going to be. I mean, and we are again in the land of wild speculations. How it is going to be with the Halo, because if iRacing is going to be true simulator, and I think they are going to stay this way, you will not be able to remove the halo like you can do in the Formula 1 games. And for the users with a single monitor, would be an issue, I think, in the long run, because you lose a little bit of depth awareness, I think. I mean, people have been complaining about you know, the antenna and oh, look at that, Meterio locking his brakes. So people have been complaining about the big antenna that the Formula Renault has, and that's, you know, 1/10 of the Halo the dimension. So we'll see, but it could be a problem for guys with a single monitor, as you see Augusto moving away to let faster cars by.
Well, yeah, I think for single screen users, as myself, and I think you as well, Marco, you can't see around it. I think a lot of it is that literally if you're looking, you know, like 3D or whatever, then it disappears in your vision, that middle part of your vision. Whereas on a single screen, you'll be able to see it, and despite an antenna, of course, is there as well. That is much thinner, and that can kind of disappear for drivers. But yeah, I'm not sure if the Halo would actually work, of course. So that's going to be quite awkward. But at the same time, if they scan the car and whatnot, we'll cross that bridge once we get to it, I think. And yeah, I'm sure they'll be able to find a suitable, you know, solution. So it worst comes to worst, you just don't run the Halo. I don't think anyone's going to get hurt as such.
Good point. Cameras on Rasmussen. He's 17 seconds behind Orozco. Calestani is not right behind him, but he's here he is in the cameras. You can see the gap on the left side of your screen, and of course on the graphics, you know that Calestani is now coming towards the final part of the track, same as Rasmussen, as the names of the drivers, their position numbers flashes red left and right. So Calestani trying 40.8 for Rasmussen. Calestani on the start-finish line 40.6, so 2/10 of a second, and this is definitely not enough with 11 laps to go if he wants to be able to catch his opponent and go for that second podium spot. 5 seconds is also the gap between Oyer and Ferlich in position 4 and position 5, and all the other drivers are 1 or more laps down. one retirement, of course, is Canovas, and Johnson couldn't take the start. What could have been, of course, for Augusto, but sadly he had to start from the pits and he lost 2 laps, now 3 laps down. Of course, he's being very, very polite and moving out of the way of the faster cars. So clearly his rhythm right now is not representative of his effective pace that he could have had also, qualified in P4. So he certainly had the pace to battle for a podium spot, and would have been nice to have him also in the mix with Rasmus and Calestani and Hoyer.
Yeah, definitely. I think he would have. I don't think he would have quite had the same pace as Rasmussen and Calestani. Maybe the same pace as Calestani, to be fair. I'm not quite sure. But usually, I think at Spa, I think he was maybe quarter of a second slower than Calestani. Not much difference whatsoever. So he could have maybe been in that little bit of a gap between Calestani and Hoyer, which Hoyer, of course, qualified well. If he'd been starting a little bit higher up, then that could have been a bit interesting. Oh, just going off topic once again with the Halo. I've always been quite a supporter with the Halo. I don't know about you, Marco, but already I'm kind of sensing the feel as though, when you look back at 30 years ago, you think, how on earth did drivers do that? And just watching these drivers go around, it is a little bit weird just to see their heads exposed and how, how vulnerable drivers have been all these years. And I don't know, Halo seems to already be making quite a significant difference just to the view of motorsport. I think that's just going to escalate in future years. And I think it might just be 5 years' time when we think what mavericks these guys were back in 2017.
Every time there's been an improvement in safety in every sport, it has been met with resistance from the old school guys. People were ridiculing National Hockey League players when the helmets became mandatory, and we remember the resistance that the drivers had when the HANS device came in, and in NASCAR people who got the HANS device were ridiculed. Then the learner died, and suddenly everyone was wanting to try the HANS device. So the Halo looks terrible. It is terrible, but I also think it's a very new technology, so it has to... Well, Formula 1 uses the Halo because they decided that is the most ready technology to protect the driver's head. So if something better comes later, I think they will switch. But for now, first years of the technology, it has been designed, still it hasn't been very well integrated in the designs of the car. They didn't take into account when they positioned the cameras for this season, so that's why the onboards are pretty much useless most of the times. I'm still a bit concerned about for example, Rouge, when you are driving down and then going up, I think the Halo blocks a significant part of the track that you are able to see. And that is also why the IndyCar is not using the Halo. People are asking why. Well, because try to go on an oval with the front left of your vision blocked by a piece of metal. If there's a wreck in front of you, you have no way to notice that. So, for example, the IndyCar is moving more towards the aero screen or maybe other solutions. Formula 1 will pick whatever is best for them and whatever is, more advanced, technologically advanced, is also ready for use right now. They wanted to get something done quickly, and that's why they picked the Halo. I'm pretty sure that people will come to accept it. Once again, I think it looks absolutely horrendous on the race cars.
Do you still notice it? Like when you turn on the TV, do you think, oh, there's the Halo? Because most races, I just forget about it.
It sticks out like a sore thumb to me.
Wow, okay.
But once again, I mean, it's okay. I mean, I have no problem with that from a safety standpoint. And to be honest, there's nothing I can do, and I certainly don't want drivers to get hit in the head by flying wheels or other stuff. So, I mean, we have to deal with it, and it's not a bad thing. It just looks bad, but safety comes first, and I'm pretty sure that it's going to be, Scrivati goes for a little bit of a ride in the grass. Drivers will sorry, F1 will, if something better comes along, will switch to that. I hope that they remember to change the mandatory cameras positions for next season, so we can have functional onboards once again. Because I mean, they saved themselves with the futuristic graphics on the Halo, but it's not good enough for me. I'm sorry, as Clivati is in the pits.
Yeah, there's certainly got to be a better angle for them to show that. So yeah, that's certainly a necessity. Oh wow, can't even say it. It's necessary for them to do that. But of course, also the 2021 class, you can see, the designs for them and how the Halo is very much more incorporated. Of course, Formula E as well, of course, they've got the Halo now. And even though, of course, the speeds that those guys go, I don't think an elephant hitting your head would do too much damage at that speed. But yeah, those are very much, integrated into the design of the car. So it does look a lot better. But you are right, Marco. This currently it does not look good with the Halo. Lap 29 of this race. In fact, we're about to go on to lap 30, as Ricardo Roscoe is. He is, he's about half a lap up the road from this point. Well, I say half a lap, but about a third of a lap up the road from Matteo Calistani, who of course started alongside him on the front row. But that's certainly been as close as he's got all day. The driver ahead, unfortunately, that's not Nicholas Rasmussen. That's a back marker. That is, who is that, in fact? Ronaldo Auguste, in fact, that is, just in front of him. That'll be interesting to see how these guys go in comparison to pace. But yeah, being very simple for Roscoe so far. Nicholas Rasmussen running in second place. Matteo Calistani in third. Manuel Hoyer is now 16 seconds behind Calistani in fourth, with Luca Furlich in fifth. Jonathan Sam Emeterio actually ahead of David Cudmore. Cudmore's made 2 pit stops out there. Well, we could have a little bit of a battle now, Marco, which would be very good. 4 seconds between the two of them, and Cudmore was 2 seconds faster on that last lap.
Yeah, the gap is quickly coming down, as you can see on the left side of your screen. And you can see now Cudmore on your screens right now. We just took half a second in this sector here over San Emeterio. So certainly a battle is on the cards between these two. 7 laps left, so there's plenty of time for the Canadian driver, Solar Racing driver, locking the tires a little bit there, but not going to be a problem with fresh tires. As San Emeterio is out, maybe a connection issue or a disqualification.
No, he's manually disconnected. I'm seeing at least. So maybe he's. I doubt he's hit the wall at that part of the circuit, because it's such a big runoff. We didn't see any smoke or anything. I think we may have seen a lockup, and that was about it.
No, the gap was also consistent, so I don't know what happened there, because it's not like he stopped and then left. He left immediately, so something must have happened there. I don't know if, once again, a disqualification or something like that. Wow.
No, would it come up that he's been disqualified?
I don't think so. No.
Well, yeah, it could definitely be that. So.
Yeah, too bad, because I was, savoring the possibility of a battle between these two guys coming towards the end of the race, but that was not the case, sadly. So Cudmore now sits comfortably in P6. He's got quite a big gap over Clivati, I think more than 1 minute. So I think P6 is good for him. Also, while we are at it, as we see Manuel Hoyer about to lap Cudmore, while we are at it, reminder that later today at 19:15 GMT is going to be the Simortal BSR Porsche Cup here on Apex Racing TV, of course, with myself and of course Sam Fitzpatrick and Ryan Walker. So after you watch Hamilton win the title, come celebrate with us and enjoy some more good racing. A very full day if you're a racing fan.
Of course, MotoGP, Marquez won the title earlier.
Yes, earlier today.
To all those who, of course, waiting to see the MotoGP. Maybe he didn't win it. He was going to win it eventually, wasn't he? That's now 5 out of 6 years. I think he's won the title. Absolutely insane. In a sport where, I guess Rossi dominated for a decade, didn't he? But quite incredible in a sport where it's relatively evenly matched, the machinery. You think in F1 where the top 3 teams are 2 seconds lap faster than everyone else. In MotoGP, the entire field separated by about half a second with the bikes, and yet he's absolutely dominates. It certainly goes down as well. He ought to go down as one of the, I think, greatest sportsmen of this past kind of 5 years or so. It's been absolutely unbelievable what he's done.
And he's still extremely young, incredibly incredible to think about
26, I think.
Yeah, he is extremely young, and I mean, we all, of course, it's going to come the day when younger guy, faster guy comes in, but that doesn't seem the case for a few more years, because we'll see if other drivers, for example, Lorenzo changing teams next season, is going to be competitive once again, as finally Emeterio drops down behind Augusto, so Augusto's perseverance pays off. He gets 1 position, P8.
We have been given some information by David Schid. 17x for car number 9 equals a disqualification. So he's the first casualty out there. Must just run a little bit wide out of that hairpin at turn 11. I don't know if it is turn 11. Don't get me started on the corner names around here. Yeah, Turkey turn 8. Mark, you know, turn 8 around this. Okay, how many corners do you think that is?
Oh god, I mean, in the United States they have a very, very weird way of numbering and naming the corners. I just remember that the straight between turn 1 and turn 2 at Road America is considered a corner. So
yes.
I won't even attempt to answer your question.
You won't even attempt, come on. It's a number between 1 and 99.
I mean, it could be considered, you know, every apex they consider it a corner. I have no idea. Or sometimes, for example, the corkscrew at Laguna Seca, it's 11, and then the exit part of the corkscrew, it's 11A. Why? Could it be 12 or 11A or 11B? Don't even get me started, man.
Okay, so you've just seen that corner now. That is 3 corners.
Okay.
Don't even doubt it. Even though, like, it kind of annoys me because they're clearly representing Turkey turn 8. How many corners is Turkey turn 8? Guess what? It's 1 corner. It's not Turkey 8, 9, 10, is it? So yeah, I don't know, but it's 20 corners down this circuit. That's turn 1, believe it or not, and going through here is turn 2. But good luck if you get every single corner right, because it's an absolute maze down here.
It is 34 laps out of 37 right now. The leader, you see him on the cameras, number 68, Riccardo Rosco. He has been the dominator this season so far, winning the first 2 rounds and well on his way to win the 3rd straight race of the season. Rasmussen is 25 seconds back, and he has got Rasmussen a 10-second lead gap in front of over Calestani. So in the end, Calestani wasn't able to replicate his qualifying pace, and Rasmussen gets a very, very well-deserved 2nd position. Oyer sits comfortably in P4 with Ferlich in P5, 7 seconds back. Cadmore is in 6th, Clivati in 7th, and of course Augusto is in 8th. These are the remaining cars. As you see, the gap increasing in these past 5 laps from 20.4 to 24.0. So Orozco hasn't stopped pushing. Hopefully he feels comfortable about his incident limit. Also,
we have just been given some information about the incidents. Apparently, Berlich is on 12x, Augusto 12x, Pudmore 11x, Orozco is only on 3x. So very impressive.
Fantastic.
He's been, well, he hasn't been cruising, I think, because we saw at Spa it was a lot closer than this. I think he's still been not exactly right on the edge, but pushing quite hard. You know, if you're out in the lead here, you may as well kind of try to simulate a race situation, because he'll be trying to replicate a competitive race situation out there. You may as well do, but he's very well kept that intensity up, and what you can see from his lines, it's very, very impressive right now from Riccardo Orozco.
Yeah, also on the right side of the screen now, the gap between Rasmussen and Calestani, also this gap increasing lap by lap. Big hello to Daniel Litt, having a nice day in the chat as well, and proposing some interesting solutions to the halo problem, which I completely agree with him, if possible. If iRacing do what he just proposed, it would be a nice idea, I think. Rasmussen going, okay, that was an off track, I think. Bit wide. I mean, 3 laps to go, he can afford that, I think. So what Daniel is proposing, if you have ever raced in the dirt sprint cars on iRacing, which I do quite a bit, there is basically on these cars a rock screen, because you are exposed to all kind of stuff being thrown at you, no? Not only mud and other disgusting stuff, but also rocks and other stuff. So with this, basically, they put a grid in front of you that stops most of the things to getting into your cockpit. Of course, in iRacing you don't need that, so you can remove it. And it could be, the same thing with the Halo. We'll see. Because basically in the sprint car, it's like driving inside a prison when you have the rock screen in front of you.
Oh, yeah, an unpleasant prison at that as well. And yeah, so maybe that could be a solution. But then at the same time, I guess you could argue that it would be a disadvantage for people to run the Halo, arguably, and no one would run it in that case. It's a bit like the seat positioning one, isn't it? Where in the P1 you can put your seat position to the middle of the car rather than at the side. And it pretty much, if you want to be at your very, very best, want it to get that extra 0.5%, I guess you put it to them. I don't know. These drivers are so competitive, they will get every edge possible. And for a lot of people, I guess that solution wouldn't be ideal. But then I think that is a good way of getting around it. I think a solution like that would probably need to be necessary for a lot of users. It's better than, I guess, having half the user base being blind whilst driving the car, so wouldn't be too bad.
Verlic in P5, seeing on the camera right now, trying to close the gap on Hoyer. There's not a lot of time left, a couple of laps.
Ooh, someone's had a bit of a knock, and that is... Oh, there's going to be contact between the two of them. Verlic gets understeered into by Hoyer. Hoyer having a mistake, and is Verlic got a bit of damage on that car? I'm not sure, but Marco there, well, a mistake firstly from Manuel Hoyer, and then was quite unsafe, I must say, coming back onto the circuit in the way that he did.
And I was not expecting that. I saw that car, the positive car in the grass that came back in. Let's see what happened. So obviously a mistake from Hoyer in the next few seconds. So let's see. Going through the snake section. So all good, all good. Then he goes still good. Riding on the curbs, I think he will go, well, he's all good right here.
I think this may be a few laps early, I think, for Manuel Hoyer. This, yeah, may have been a different instant, I think, for him. But very close between the two of them, and back live, I think. I think Hoyer's just got past Verlic out there. Oh, taking a bit of curve. I think Verlic is, yeah, sorry, I think Verlic got a bit of damage on that car.
Oh, so he went there. So he went there, and then... Oh, the stewards will not be happy about this, Sam, I can tell you that.
Absolutely. Well, he has taken back that 4th position now. So Verlic got ahead. But I think Verlic has got quite a bit of damage himself with that steering damage. But out in the lead, despite that last couple of laps of kerfuffle, Riccardo Roscoe, well, he has not been involved in any issues whatsoever. He rounds the final corner. He's going to make it 3 out of 3 in the iRacing Grand Prix Championship. And he, yeah, fully deserves that victory. Riccardo Roscoe takes the race victory here at Circuit of the Americas. And his, yeah, his dominance continues. It looks as though Nicholas Rasmussen is going to end up as the bridesmaid once again. And this time it wasn't quite as close as Spa. 8 seconds behind at the end of the Spa in round 2. This time a little bit further back, but still a very good drive from the second row of the grid. And he ends up in 2nd place with Matteo Calistani. He's going to be in 3rd. A change of position. Verlic has got back ahead of of Hoyer. And I think that was a deliberate change from the pair of them. In fact, Hoyer's very slow up there, losing it a bit of time as Kalastani will round out the podium. Here is Hoyer. I doubt he's had another issue up there, although he's driving very slowly around there currently. And, well, not the end of the race that he wanted, man.
I think it was a penalty by the stewards because that was a bit, I mean, very deliberate to give the position back.
It has been black flagged. I don't know if there'll be a penalty applied to him after the race. I think there'll be a 30-second penalty, if I'm correct.
Terlich P4 then, so little bit of controversy to end the race, and Hoyer will be, I mean, at the line in P5, but we'll see if the judges will decide for a penalty. I think yes, because he got a one-lap penalty, I think. Well, not a one-lap penalty, but if he got a 30-second penalty, will he's now shown in 6th in timing and scoring, so I think he got passed by Cadmore because of the penalty.
Yes, so, well, he's certainly paid the price there as Manuel Hoyer for a bit of unsafe driving. In the end, it didn't affect Felich too much. And in the end, we can go through the final race results. And here's Ricardo Roscoe making 3 out of 3 in the iRacing Grand Prix Championship. He was 26 seconds clear of Nicholas Rasmussen in the end. It was a little bit disappointing, that fight with Matteo Calastani. Thought Calastani could really push him to the limit there, Rasmussen, but in the end, he was also quite a distant third in the end. Luka Ferlich finished in 4th. It was a very solid drive from him, with David Cudmore inheriting 5th, and he had to overcome a bit of controversy to finish in that result. I think that's his best result of the season as well, so well done to him. Manuel Hoyer finished in 6th place after that incident near the end. Flavio Clavati kept it clean in 7th, making good progress actually is Clavati, so well done to him. Ronaldo Auguste unfortunately couldn't take the start, and you wonder whether he could have been on the podium if it weren't for that. He ends up in 8th place. Then it was Jonathan San Emeterio in 9th place. He retired. He had a disqualification out there, picking up too many incidents. And then also Bruno Canavas rounds out the top 10 drivers out there. Do you think we're going to be able to get an interview? And I think we're going to get an interview with Ricardo Roscoe. So, Ricardo, really well done there. You've made it 3 out of 3 in this series, and you must be absolutely delighted.
Yeah, it was a good race. It's a shame that we didn't have many more drivers. I was expecting to have a few other guys coming in, but yeah, from my perspective, was a good race. At least I managed to finish, because yesterday wasn't the best day for us on WCS, but yeah, happy with the result.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, a one-stopper was pretty simple out there in the end for all the drivers out there. Were you having to manage the tyres whatsoever? And, you know, with that high track temperature, were you having to treat them in a different way to yesterday when it was a bit cooler?
Yeah, yesterday, I think there was 2 strategies that could work. From my perspective, maybe the one stop could be better for yesterday with the cooler track, but I had an incident at the start. Was a sandwich between myself, some Quendon, and some Orion cars, so I had a little bit of a suspension damage that I thought was a wing damage, but then I went for a 2-stop, but 1 stop would be better. But today, with 37 laps, definitely 1 stop was the way to go. Was a little bit tricky at the end of the stint, but it was manageable. I managed to push all the way.
Yeah, and were you able to kind of keep your intensity up for the entire race out there? Were there kind of some lapses of concentration? We didn't see you making any mistakes out there. It was certainly very impressive.
Yeah, I mean, all of us drivers, we know every small mistake we make here and there. At some point, I turned off the relatives, so I could just try to focus on the driving. And as I've been saying, I've been trying to get into every race that I can to practice and to improve. So I use it as one more opportunity to do it. But yeah, a couple of mistakes here and there, but overall happy with the result.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, now that the World Championship is over for the season, I think you've qualified for next season, so we'll have to do the qualifiers. But yeah, what were you kind of aiming to do on iRacing for the remainder of the year and the start of next year as well?
Yeah, I think everyone's on hold now, expecting some news from iRacing. There's been rumors of a new Formula car, so everyone's waiting what's going to come up. I think the decision will come when we know what's going to happen, but primarily the objective is to keep on doing WCS, and this year we managed to do top 20. It was a bit tough because we had 4 DNFs, but at the end we managed. The objective for next year is to improve a little bit, maybe go a little bit further, try to finish inside the top 15. But it's always tricky, you know, you have so much talent and you have like 6-7 Quenda cars and 6-7 Apex cars. So when you're in a small team, it's really hard to progress. But I'll keep fighting. Let's see what we can bring out of it.
Yeah, definitely. You certainly had a superb year so far. Before we let you go, anyone you'd like to thank?
Just Positive Sim Racing for all the support they've given me. University Isabel I, the main sponsor that we have. And of course, you guys for sticking to the League Series, which is really cool. And thanks for broadcasting.
Thanks, Ricardo. And hopefully we'll see you in 2 weeks' time.
Yep, see you guys. Cheers.
We've also got Nicholas Rasmussen with us as well. Well done, Nicholas, with that second position result. Once again, wasn't an awesome qualifying, maybe getting out-qualified by Kalistani, but in the race, he kind of just drove away from him. Your race pace was super impressive once again today.
Yeah, qualifying I messed up pretty bad. My first lap was pretty good until the final sector. Just too heavy on the happy pedal, as we say, and second lap I messed that up as well. Fortunately enough for P3, and for the race I was able to get the jump on Matteo on the first lap, and was just able to maintain my pace. So we need to do something about Ricardo. He's just too damn fast. But obviously that's our benchmark. We need to go and see if we can catch him somehow. Great result to him as well today, and I think we can be happy as a team and NHR Esport with the result today.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, looking forward to the qualifiers next season. Is it really useful to have someone like Ricardo, driving against him as kind of like a benchmarker, as you say, because he's the level that you got to get to qualify for that series, or certainly close to that level. Is it really useful to kind of have him as a benchmark out there?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think I'm deeply thankful that he takes the time to actually race with us, who are not in the World Championship. It's really good. I mean, we know what to aim for. We know Ricardo's really fast. We've seen that in the World Championship races. So if we can just get close to him, that will be a good result for us. Obviously, today we were a bit further behind than we would have liked to, but again, we have something to work for, and it gives me motivation, and I think it will give the whole team some motivation to keep pushing.
Yeah, definitely. Of course, next time we've got Suzuka in 2 weeks' time. That'll be a 100% race as well. It's a fantastic race circuit, that. And are you looking forward to that one?
Oh yeah, I love Suzuka. There's no better place to lap an F1 car. Maybe Silverstone, but it's a fantastic track. You really get to try out some things that you can pretty much only experience in when driving an F1 car. It's just amazing. So it's something I look forward to definitely. And we're just going to keep pushing and see what we can do there.
Yeah, definitely. And before we let you go, any shout-outs you'd like to give?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. First of all, thanks to the organizers for making this league happen. Great place to race, and really happy to have a place to go racing with open sets. Gotta thank the team sponsors, Newman Racing and Extreme Simware. My spotter Alex, and my teammate Luca for doing a fantastic job on the setup work all throughout the week, and you guys for making the broadcast happen. Really much appreciated, and great to see somebody actually wanting to put an effort in to get the Formula 1 class out in the open so people can hopefully get a part of it.
Before you go, Niklas, I want to thank you for all the great races in the NHR Formula 2000. Back in the days, that league was fantastic.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much, and thank you so much for racing there. I mean, I'm sorry I had to shut it down, but this Formula 1 car takes all my time.
Yeah, I said that during the broadcast. Switching from a league organizer to Formula 1 driver, and I completely understand that this car takes away a lot of the time. But while it lasted, that Skip Barber League was amazing.
You know what? We're maybe trying to get that up and running again in the future. So we'll see. We have some plans. But thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, man. It was some great racing with the car.
That's amazing, man. Thank you.
Thanks, Nicholas, and yeah, we'll see you in a fortnight's time.
Absolutely.
So I think
So, yeah.
So I was just just going to round it out, but yeah, another good round. A lot of it was just chit chat, I guess, that race, Marco. But once again, it's great to see the likes of Nicholas and Matteo being able to kind of learn from certainly Riccardo out there about this car, kind of getting to that level. This series open setups is a great tool for those drivers to improve up there.
Absolutely. I think it's nice for these drivers to have a benchmark that high in a World Championship driver. And, still a little bit of a way to go with 3 races in the books. So there's still time for these guys. Not a lot, but who knows what might happen in the next few rounds starting from Suzuka 100% race. I think also, if I'm not mistaken, we have the up-to-date standings for the championship after this third round of the season, maybe. Because that's... I don't know if, Scott, if we have the standings on the screen. Okay, they are coming. So at the moment, I see a very, very beautiful Austin, Texas sky and the skyline, but sadly, no standings. But I guess that Riccardo Roscoe is leading the championship with full marks, and Calestani is in second place. So I mean, of course, Sam Roscoe winning all the races, so he obviously gets full marks. Calestani in second, I think it's going to be a nice battle all season long between Calestani and Niklas for that second place in the standings.
Yeah, definitely. Just looking at the standings myself right now, and yeah, of course, Riccardo, 300 points. Matteo Calestani, 204. Ronaldo Augusto, despite that low finish today, still in third with 182. There's Luca Furlich with 172, and Nicholas Rasmussen with 160. So yeah, those 4. Well, it's difficult to call who's going to get second in the championship right now. I certainly wouldn't want to call it right now. With Cudmore and Clavati. Then Harjan Mavar in 8th, Canavas in 9th, and Hoyer in 10th place. And of course, yeah, just the other drivers who have taken part in a round so far just below that. So, yeah, certainly hope to see many of those guys back as well. So we've got a nice little championship. Maybe not for for the victory, but certainly for second position will be very interesting. Of course, these drivers also get a drop round as well. So those results aren't necessarily exact. But yeah, will be very interesting in, I guess, if my maths is correct, 6 weeks' time, 1.5 months, we'll have that championship to a close start of December. I think it was on mid-December. We will know who the champion is, but of course, as we said a little bit earlier on, the BSR Immortal Porsche Cup is on later on. That is at 19:15 GMT. And we've also got the BSITC on Thursday as well. So tuned for that one. That's the first round of the showdown. So very, very important in that series. But for now, from me, from Scott, and from Mark here as well, we will say goodbye and we'll see you next time.